Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into this video. Today I am going to be previewing Week 18, the final week of the NFL season, the last Sunday or Saturday and Sunday that we have all 32 teams playing, and then after this we'll have Wild Card Weekend next week. I know I've said it a lot over the last month on these videos, but I cannot believe how fast this season has gone along. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into today's video now. For those that follow me all throughout the season, when I've done these weekly previews, I will go ahead and let you know today's is going to be a lot different. It's probably going to be a heck of a lot shorter than the normal hour. Sometimes I went over an hour when all the bye weeks were officially over. The reason why it's going to be a little different, guys, is I'm just going to kind of look at the playoff picture, let you guys know what needs to happen for people to clinch playoff spots or win their division. And then when I'm doing that, I'm gonna kind of just give you guys who I think's gonna win, because this weekend, and I know it's like technically the first like week 18, right, with this whole new schedule, but it's still the last week of the year. So there's always going to be games that don't matter. There's two games, and I'm just going to give you guys the winners at the end of this, just because there's no playoff teams that are involved in those two games. And then you got teams that are like, I don't know if this is the right example, but for example, the Packers, right? They're already in the playoffs, but they already clinched their number one seed. So let's just pick something different. That's more like the Titans, right? So the Titans in the playoff picture, but they need a win, right, to get the number one seed. Well, they're facing the Texans. Texans ain't going nowhere, right? So it's like, well, you got a team that's probably thinking about Cabo versus a team that's clinching the number one spot and getting a first round bye. It's gonna be easy to pick who I think is gonna win that game, right? So I just don't think there's that much of an analysis, and I really can't give a proper analysis because, like, for example, the Packers game, right? Like, Aaron Rodgers is gonna maybe play like a quarter or two, and then he'll probably end up sitting at some point. So how does that affect the outcome of that game? There's a lot of weird stuff that happens because players don't play at all. Like this Cowboys Eagles game tomorrow night. Like from what I understand, there's a number of starters that are going to be out of that matchup. So unless a team really wants to like position themselves to be like a second or third seed for whatever reason, maybe they're trying to face the right team on wild card weekend to line up their potential route to the Super Bowl. There's not really much I can know what's going to happen and who's going to get pulled when and who's going to play. So with that being said, I'm just going to kind of go through the playoff picture, give you guys who I think is going to win, and from the teams that are in the playoff picture with the games, and then I'm going to quickly cover those last two games that feature non-playoff teams, and then get you guys out of here. So why don't I just go ahead and get into this? I'm going to start with the NFC because that's the easiest, because 6 out of the 7 playoff spots in the NFC conference have already been clinched. The last spot's going to come down between the 49ers and the Saints. But I'm going to start off with the number one seed. So the Packers have clinched the number one seed. They're officially locked in. They get the first round bye. They got home playoff advantage throughout the course of the playoffs. Now this week they got the Lions. They're playing at the 1 p.m. slot time. And yeah, it sounds like I just saw like Matt LaFleur talk about it right before I hopped on. They are planning. He doesn't really want to play Aaron, but a lot of the starters from the Packers want to play and keep that momentum going. So I kind of think they're going to maybe play like at least a half, maybe 3/4. I don't really think they're going to push anything and like risk any injuries, at least they shouldn't be. And Jordan Love, he's a first round pick, so he will be filling in for Aaron at some point. So I will tell you what, I still think the Packers do manage to get this win, even if they pull their starters at some point. So I'll say the Packers end up winning that game like a 31-24 win. Maybe it's a little closer because when the starters get pulled, maybe the Lions can do some work at that point. So yeah, with that being said, I really don't have to talk much about the Packers. The number 2 seed as of right now is the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams, if they win, they will this weekend. They will clinch the NFC West. Now, if they were to lose, but the Cardinals if the Cardinals still lose this weekend, then they can still clinch the NFC West. They got the 49ers at 4:25 on Sunday, and obviously that is a huge game because the 49ers are going to be fighting for their life. So why don't I just go ahead and kind of talk about the 49ers scenario before I kind of actually preview somewhat that game. So then the 49ers, as of right now, the 49ers are sitting at the number 6 slot in the NFC. Now, if the 49ers win over the Rams, the 49ers will automatically clinch a playoff spot and they're in the playoffs. Now, if the 49ers lose this game against the Rams, the only way they can keep their spot in the playoffs is if the Saints were to lose to the Falcons. So this is probably one of the biggest games, obviously like one of the 2 or 3 huge games that has big implications as far as the playoffs. So with that being said, we really don't know who the 49er quarterback is going to be because I don't believe Jimmy Garoppolo was able to get really much of any practice in this week. So is it going to be Jimmy G? Is it going to be Trey Lance? So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out because I think if they play Trey Lance, that offers like the guessing game because that's an offense they're not familiar with because obviously they've been facing the Jimmy G led offense from San Francisco. But with that being said, the Los Angeles Rams, they have what it takes to stuff this run, but history does say the 49ers have a good inclination to have themselves being confident that they can run the ball against the Rams. They have done it before in the past with hodgepodge guys, and this is obviously an offense that has been able to improve as the season goes along. And then if Trey Lance can play, then that adds his rushing ability where they can run the RPO and stuff like that and run different wrinkles within the offense. Now, you flip sides of the ball for the Rams. I mean, what's going on with Matthew Stafford? He's thrown like 6 or 7 picks over the last 2 games, so he's not playing that well. But the 49ers will be going against the Rams offense will be going against that 49ers defense, which is, they've had their struggles defending the pass, but when, the Rams have been having their issues with, at least from Matthew Stafford protecting the ball, you wonder what type of consistency you would see. But I would definitely think that Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson and OBJ could do work against that 49ers cornerback group, which is lacking a lot of talent. And I think they would be able to carve up that defense and get the ball moving through the air. Now, the thing is, everybody kind of knows this, like with the NFC West, teams own each other. And one of the weird things is it doesn't matter how good these Rams have been over the last few years, Kyle Shanahan always manages to get his team to show up and beat the Rams, like almost like every single time that they play against each other. So history says the 49ers should definitely win this game. But you got the Rams who are fighting for not only they would win the NFC West, and that means they would host a playoff game, but they would also be able to clinch the number 2 seed. So that way they would at least get a home playoff game in the next round of the playoffs, and then depending on how the Packers would do, they could potentially host the NFC Conference Championship game. So they got something to fight for as well. Man, I always kind of trust Kyle Shanahan when these teams meet, but I think the Rams are going to show up though on Sunday. I think they're going to. I think Matthew Stafford is going to get things back on track in that game, and he's going to carve up the defense with his wide receivers. And I think they're going to end up squeezing out a win in the 4th quarter, and they win like a 31-27 win on Sunday. So then moving on from that, I'm going down to the 3 seed. The Bucs have already clinched their division. The only thing they could really hope for is, I guess, if the Rams were to lose and they win, they could jump up to the number 2 seed. They are playing the Panthers at the 4:25 slot time. I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Bucs to win. The Panthers, they're on a 7-game skid at this point. I know there's a lot of drama with the Antonio Brown situation surrounding the Bucs right now, but I think they shut out that noise and they get themselves a home win and possibly move themselves all the way up to the number 2 seed if things were to fall their way. So they probably win like a 35-21 win on Sunday. And then the next seed is the Cowboys. They have already won the division. They're locked into that spot. Now they are going against the Eagles this week. Now the Eagles are right now the number 7 seed, which is weird, right? Because the Eagles are the number 7 seed and the 49ers are number 6. but the Eagles have clinched their playoff spot. It's kind of just weird when you really think about it. The Eagles have clinched their playoff spot, but they're actually below the Niners on the rankings. Listen, hey, that's all the mathematical type of stuff with the results of these games. I'm not that type of genius, but yeah. So the Cowboys have won their division, so they're locked into a home playoff game. Now, if they were to win, and I think maybe if the Bucks and Rams lost, I think there's maybe a way they can wiggle themselves up to number 2 seed. I'm not 100% positive. I'm more of just kind of going over if they're going to be able to clinch a playoff spot or whatever the case may be. Again, Cowboys and Eagles are already clinched in. Now, these two teams are going to be facing on Saturday night at 8:15. So that's the Saturday night game. Yeah, I'm not sure if the Eagles are able to climb up above to the 6th seed if like the 49ers were to lose, by the way. I'm assuming that would be an option for them if they can win on Saturday night. But again, it sounds like the Eagles are going to be holding out some players. I do think the Cowboys are going to play players because they do have that option to, or they do have the opportunity to jump up if things were to fall their way as far as seeding purposes. See, this one's hard for me to pick because I don't know how to give you guys the proper. This is why I was telling you guys this is probably gonna be a quick episode because I don't know who are they gonna hold out. Are they gonna pull players halfway through the game? I don't know. It's a home Cowboys game. I'll give the Cowboys a win. 28-24, I guess. Again, I'm gonna give you guys probably a really bad analysis as far as like how I think the game could go. I do think I did deliver on that 49ers Rams one, just because that one really does have some implications, and you know everybody's gonna be playing in that game for the entire outing. But with this one, like I said, I don't even know how many people are gonna suit up for this game, and if they're even gonna play the whole game. But yeah, I'll take the Cowboys to win that game. Now, moving on to the next last team to talk about in the NFC playoff picture is the New Orleans Saints. They are the only other team that has the opportunity to make it into the playoffs. It's going to be, like I mentioned, it's going to be them or the 49ers. And you can probably guess their playoff scenario. The Saints, as long as they were to win on Sunday and the 49ers were to lose to the Rams, the Saints are in the playoffs. Now, the thing is, they are going against the Falcons. They are facing off at the 4:25 time, and the reason why that's interesting is because the Falcons are their bitter rival. There will be nothing more satisfying for Atlanta to officially knock out their rivals out of the playoff picture. The Falcons did beat the Saints earlier this season in New Orleans, so that's something you can factor in as well. So. Obviously you got to factor into, it is the Falcons are outside the playoff picture. So how many players are on the Falcons thinking about their vacation and going to hit the golf, grab the golf clubs and hitting the links. So that's something you got to factor in too. But there's a reason why, Goodell, he said that on the Manning cast, there's a reason why they have these divisional games at the end of the year, because usually divisional teams will step up against each other and, they want to like I said, knock their divisional rival outside of the playoffs. So, when you look at this game, what can Atlanta do is obviously they need to protect Matt Ryan and keep Cameron Jordan and Marcus Davenport off of his back. Now, Kyle Pitts was limited in practice this week because of a hamstring, and if Kyle Pitts can't go, that's a weapon outside of their offense. And then all they really have is Cordero Patterson, who is kind of somewhat slowed down as far as the little run that he was having this season. He's kind of coming back down to earth. So there's not a lot of weapons on this Atlanta offense. So I trust this New Orleans defense to get after Matt Ryan, harass him, and then force him into early decisions. And that's where those like turnovers, those forced fumbles and those interceptions can happen. And I could see the New Orleans defense winning this game for them. And because you flip sides of the ball, like the Saints offense, obviously it is what it is. Like you got Taysom Hill, who's a quarterback, who's more of a running back than a quarterback. He's able to pick up first downs with his legs. He can do the read option with Kamara. They can do little dump offs to Kamara, but there's nothing that really threatens a defense as far as deep shots, attacks, and there's no really true alpha dog in that wide receiver room as of right now. But so with that being said, like I think the Saints will be able to move the ball and put up 2 to 3 touchdown drives, but I think that comes off if their defense can put them in really good field position because of how well they're playing. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think this game actually will end up coming down to the fourth quarter and who has the ball last. I think Atlanta's going to have an opportunity to win this game. But I just think the Saints defense will be a little bit too much for Atlanta, especially if Kyle Pitts can't play. I think that kind of leans it towards the Saints winning. I'll give the Saints win like a 17-14 win for New Orleans. Now, if all these games go how I thought they think they will, that means the Saints would be in the playoffs and the 49ers won't be. I kind of feel like the 49ers deserve it over the Saints. That's just me, but hey, that's sometimes how the cookie crumbles, and I could be wrong as well. So don't hate on me too much, San Fran. I'd rather see you guys in it because I do love Kyle Shanahan. I'm interested in seeing more Trey Lance, but sometimes the matchups just don't fall in your favor. That's why you got to win those games at the beginning of the season. Trust me, I know. As a Colts fan, I'm gonna be talking about it here shortly. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and move into the AFC playoff picture for you guys and go over these scenarios. Now, there are at least 6 teams in the AFC that have, I'm sorry, 5 teams have clinched a playoff spot in the AFC, but the number 1 seed hasn't been clinched. So playoff seeding's up in the air this weekend in the AFC, and there's 2 playoff spots that are up in the air in the AFC. So let's start at the top of the conference. As of right now, the Tennessee Titans are the number 1 seed in the AFC. There looks like they're going to be getting Derrick Henry back, so that's going to provide a huge boost for that offense. Now, how can the Titans clinch the number 1 seed? It's pretty simple. Just win. They beat the Texans on Sunday. They're playing them at the 1 p.m. time. As long as they were able to get that win in, they clinched the number 1 seed. Now, what happens if they were to lose? Can they still clinch the number 1 seed? That is true. What they would need to happen is they would need the Chiefs, Bengals, and the Patriots all to lose, and they could still win it that way. Or if the Chiefs and Bengals were to lose and Buffalo were to win, that's another way where they can get the number 1 seed. Now, this is my apologies, guys. One thing I do apologize, I forgot to mention. There are scenarios where these teams tie. Things could happen, but I'm sorry. I don't do the tie thing. I know technically it could happen, but I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about that stupid Chargers and Raiders kneeling the whole game so they could tie if the Colts were to lose. I'm not talking about that BS because teams don't play to tie. And I swear, I mean, somebody can go prove me wrong, but I swear I've never seen a tie at the last week of the season when the playoffs were on the line. I've never seen a tie, so that's why I don't talk about it, by the way. So, but yeah, so with that being said, there are like scenarios, because like, it's like there's scenarios like, you know, like, oh, this team could win or tie and they still clinch the seed. Like, I'm not going to talk about a team tying. Like, it's stupid. Get rid of ties, NFL. I think ties are dumb. All right, now I got off that little rant I wasn't planning on going. The Titans are playing the Texans at the 1 p.m. slot, like I mentioned. Yeah, I'm picking the Titans. I know the Texans, and now keep in mind, the Texans did beat them earlier this season, but that was when the Titans were all banged up. I believe they were dealing with COVID issues. That day was like a monsoon type of rain, and Tannehill threw like 4 interceptions. So unless they come out and completely fall on their face, I don't know how the Titans are going to lose this game. Again, you got a highly motivated Titans team going against a team that's probably thinking about their vacation, right? So give me the Titans to win that game like a 35-17 type of win. Now, the number 2 seed right now in the AFC is the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs do have a way they can win the number 1 seed. All they got to do is beat the Broncos on Saturday in the first game tomorrow and hope the Titans lose to the Texans. So, obviously a lot to ask for. So with that being said, they are going against the Broncos it's at 4:30 tomorrow on Saturday. And yeah, I mean the Broncos, I think Surtain's out. There's like a number of guys that are not playing in this game on their defensive side of the ball. You got Drew Lock as the starting quarterback. Yeah, that Bronco team's a mess. There's, obviously there's rumors talking about Vic Fangio could be fired. So you got a lot of that stuff going on Denver's side, and then you got the KC Chiefs, who obviously they want to maybe give themselves a shot to win the number one seed. And they're probably really angry about losing to the Cincinnati Bengals last week. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Chiefs to win this game. They win like a 28-14 win tomorrow. Moving on to the third seed. The third seed right now is the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, with the Bengals, they have an opportunity to win to clinch the number one seed. They had to have Tennessee, the Chiefs, and the Patriots to lose. So if the Chiefs win tomorrow, they already are going to know that they can't get the number one seed. Now, another opportunity that they can win I forgot really quick. I just realized another way they can win the number one seed is if they win, and then the Titans and the Chiefs were to lose, and then Buffalo were to win. That's another scenario that would help them clinch the number one seed. But again, the biggest thing is they would have to hope that the Chiefs were to lose to the Broncos tomorrow. Highly likely not going to happen. So they're going to know when they get to Sunday that they're probably not going to be able to have a shot at the number one seed. It's already been reported Joe Burrow's not going to play. A number of their starters aren't going to play. I think Jamar Chase might play for like the first half because he's like 40 something yards away from a rookie receiving record, if I remember hearing that right. So he'll probably get some snaps in. But other than that, you're going to be looking at Brandon Allen as their backup quarterback, and they're going against the Browns. It's at the 1 p.m. time. Now, the Browns are playing their backup quarterback, but the Browns are going to be playing all the rest of their starters. So I'm actually going to pick the Browns to win this game against the Bengals just because the Bengals are going to be playing without like majority of their starters. They're going to rest them for wild card weekend. And then the Browns are going to be playing, like I said, Case Keenum's technically the backup quarterback, but they're going to have Nick Chubb, they're starting Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney. All their starters are going to be playing the whole game. So, again, maybe those starters are thinking about vacation. And maybe the backups from the Bengals beat their starters. That I've seen stuff like that happen before. What was it? Didn't the Steelers backups beat some team that was trying to make the play? I think it was the Browns, I think a couple of years ago or something. Somebody's backups beat some playoff team, I remember, in the recent years on the last week of the year. Again, this is a weird week. That's why I'm not really going too much in depth for you guys. So, yeah, I think the Browns, maybe they win just because the Bengals are playing their backups, and they win like a 21-17 win on Sunday. Moving on to the fourth seed. So the fourth seed right now is the Buffalo Bills. If they win on Sunday, they win the AFC East, and that means they'll host the game on Wild Card weekend. Now, if they were to lose and the Patriots were to lose, they still win the AFC East. Now they are going against the Jets at 4:25 p.m. Now with this game, I think they're just going to handle their business against New York. Now I got to give credit to New York; they are playing pretty tough football over this last course of this month of the season. They had a good shot at beating those Buccaneers last week. They just weren't able to make it happen. But I feel like something has switched in Josh Allen. He's running the ball more. He's playing with a purpose. I know he had those 3 interceptions last week, but that you could point towards that all that snowy weather that they were dealing with. And I think they're just going to come out and stick it to the Jets. And I think their defense is going to come out and harass Zach Wilson throughout the day and make him have his rookie moments. And I think the Buffalo Bills end up, pulling away late in this game, and they end up winning like a 35-21 win on Sunday. Now, moving into the fifth seed, which is wild. So the New England Patriots are the fifth seed, and New England actually still has a shot to be the number one seed in the AFC. In order for them to be the number one seed, obviously they need a win. And then they need losses by Buffalo, the Titans, and the Chiefs. So it's still possible, but like I was talking about with the Bengals, more than likely KC's going to win tomorrow, and that's going to put that out of her bed. Now, they can still win their division. What they need to do is just they need to win, and they need to hope the Jets can beat the Bills. If that can happen, then they can win the AFC East, and they would be the ones hosting a home playoff game. on Wild Card Weekend. Now this week though, they are playing in Miami against the Dolphins at that 4:25 time. Everybody kind of knows now. Was this a Tom Brady thing or is this a Patriots thing? The Patriots always tend to struggle down there in Miami. Now Miami's outside; they're out of the playoffs, but obviously they would love to stick it to their divisional rival in the last game. But with that being said, I think with the New England having so much to gain from a win, obviously they got to hope the Buffalo were to lose so they can host that playoff game. I expect Bill Belichick will have his team to play. I think that defensive front from New England is going to dominate that terrible offensive line from Miami. They're going to harass Tua. They're going to force Tua to get into his tunnel vision. And when Tua gets into his tunnel vision, that's when he locks on the guys, and that's when defenders can make the reads and jump on interceptions outside of Tua. So I could see that happening. And then the Miami defense, they just got ran all over by Tennessee. What does New England like to do? They love to run the ball. So you're going to see a lot of Ramondre Stevenson. We'll have to see if Damon Harris can play. But you're going to see a lot of those nice little combination of the running game. They're going to try to push the ball down the field with those guys. Get Mac in third and short situations so he can make little quick decisions, quick slant routes, quick outs. And just keep the keeping up, picking up first downs, and then they're just going to put themselves in scoring positions often throughout that game. I do think Miami's going to make it interesting, and I could see the history of them having their struggles down there. Brian Flores knows Bill Belichick, so I still think New England pulls it off and they win like a 28 to I like that 28 to 24 win on Sunday. Now moving on to the 6th seed. So the 6th seed as of right now is the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have a pretty simple scenario. They beat the Jaguars, the freaking Jaguars, right? That's all they got to do. Trust me, I'm not too happy that we're in this scenario, but they did have to climb out a hole to even be in this spot. As long as they beat the Jaguars, they're in. Now, listen, if they lose to the Jaguars, in my opinion, you don't deserve the playoff spots. Like, don't even let the Colts in if they lose to the Jaguars. But if the Colts were to lose to the Jaguars, and then the Chargers were to lose to the Raiders, the Steelers were to lose to the Ravens, and then the Dolphins were to beat the Patriots, the Colts would still get into the playoffs, even if they were to lose to the Jaguars. That's the one scenario that would work in their favor. If they lose on Sunday, they're playing the Jaguars at the 1 p.m. time. Listen, the Colts have got to go out there and handle their business. And after watching the Hard Knocks episode on Wednesday night, it was kind of clear why they lost in Las Vegas. They just weren't mentally prepared. They had a terrible practice week. They weren't focused at all, and they kind of just went through the motions, and they thought they were just going to show up and win. And you can't do that in the NFL. Now, if they were to do that against the Jaguars this week, who knows what could happen? Because I've talked about this before. You guys have probably heard it ad nauseum at this point. The Colts haven't beat the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville since 2014. They have lost the last 6 games on the road against the Jaguars. So obviously that's got me nervous as a Colts fan, if I'm being honest. But I think with all the talk about them losing down there all the time, I think this team's going to be laser focused when they come in. I think they're going to dominate on defense. I think they're going to just run the damn ball with Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's 266 yards away from going to 2,000 rushing yards for the season. Last year in the final game against the Jaguars, he had like 255, if I remember writing that part of my article right. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of Jonathan Taylor. I actually think they end up blowing the doors out of Jacksonville, and they end up winning like a 38-10 win on Sunday. All right, the number 7 seed. So the number 7 seed is the Los Angeles Chargers as of right now. And they are in a win and in game against the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, these two teams are the last game of the regular season. This is the Sunday night game, and whoever wins this game is in the playoffs. So this is obviously a huge, huge game, and this is kind of be interesting. Now, the Chargers won this game earlier this season. Now, this one game is in Las Vegas. Now, how can the Raiders win this game? Is run the damn ball. Um, it's the Chargers have struggled to stop the run this year. So if they can come out and dominate the trenches to start the game and open up holes for Josh Jacobs. Now Josh Jacobs was in and out of the lineup against the Colts last week, dealing with some type of chest and rib injury. I don't know where he stands on that. But if he can stay in this game and play as many snaps as he can, and if they can dominate on the ground and then they can feed off the play action and throw the ball to Darren Waller, because the Chargers also struggle to cover tight ends, they should be able to effectively move this ball against the Chargers defense, and they're going to be able to put themselves in scoring position, I believe, more times than not in this game. But they're going to have to convert when they get down to the red zone into touchdowns, because that's where I wonder if they're going to be able to play catch up enough with that Chargers offense if they have to settle for field goals over touchdowns. So that's where the difference, I believe, will come in this game. I think they're going to be able to move the ball down the field pretty easily on Sunday night, but can they punch that ball into the end zone when they do get the ball down there? And then can the Chargers defense step up? Can Joey Bosa come off the edge often and hit Derek Carr? Can Jerry Tillery blow up in the middle of the defense? And then can Derwin James be a playmaker in this game and maybe make a timing, interception that gives his offense, the ball in great field position? So that's where I'm looking for on that side and during that matchup. And then you flip sides of the ball, the Raiders, their defense, they won't allow you to go deep on them. They try to put everything up front, so they're going to try to take away the rocket arm of Justin Herbert. So guys like Jalen Guyton, even like Mike Williams, those guys that he always connects with on those deep shots, they're going to try to take that away. So what they're going to have to do is just, they got to take what's given to them. So do the dump offs to Austin Eckler, get Austin Eckler the ball. He's got to get at least 20 plus touches and let him pick up first downs with his legs. And then they're going to have to use Keenan Allen. I'll line him up all over the place so he could frustrate their defense with his route running. And I would target him at least 10 plus times. And I still wouldn't be afraid to take my shots. That was my biggest issue with the Colts last week against the Raiders. They should have taken more shots than what they did. So I think they will. Justin Herbert's not afraid to sling the ball deep, and I think they'll have their drives where they methodically move the ball, and I think they have what it takes to put up 3+ touchdown drives against this Raiders. Now I think this game is going to come down to the fourth quarter. I think it's going to come down to who can step up and make a crucial turnover at the right time. Derek Carr, he does play pretty good towards the end of the games, but there is one thing: he has a season high of interceptions right now. He has, a career high of interceptions. He's tied his career high of fumbles, so he's turning the ball over more times than he has in the past. So I think that's going to show up at some point in this game and bite the Raiders in the ass and end up potentially costing them a playoff spot, because they still have some scenarios they can make it into the playoffs if they were to lose. I'm going to pick the Chargers to win this game, though. I think Justin Herbert makes a big-time play in the final 2 minutes of the game. He gets his team in field goal position. They kick the field goal to win, and they end up winning like a 27-24 win on Sunday night. So that would have the Chargers in if that happens. Now, how do the Raiders make the playoffs if they were to lose on Sunday night? Now you talk about this stupid tie kneeling thing, but that's not going to happen. This is the NFL, people. How they can make it to the playoffs is if they were to lose, they would need the Colts and the Steelers to lose, and they would still make it to the playoffs. So that's their other scenario if they lose on Sunday night. Other than that, they just got to win, and they're in. And then also, I don't think I wrote that down. I'm pretty sure the Chargers, if they were to lose and the Colts lose, they still get in too, by the way. And then moving into this next one, let's see here. So these next two teams are going to talk about they're facing each other, and they both have a kind of an outside shot of making the playoffs. The Steelers are traveling to face the Ravens, and they're playing at the 1 p.m. time. Now, how do the Steelers get in really quick? They got to win, and they need the Colts to lose. They win, Colts lose, Steelers are inside the playoffs. And then for the Ravens, how do they get in? They need the Colts. They need a win. First of all, the Ravens need a win, and then they need the Chargers, the Colts, and the Dolphins to lose. So if they win, Chargers lose, Colts lose, Dolphins lose, Baltimore's in. So this is a huge game. Lamar Jackson's not playing. It will be Tyler Huntley. So it'll be interesting to see how this game is played off, right? So the Pittsburgh's obviously going to be riding that high off of Big Ben's final game in Heinz Field, and this will be his last game of his career, facing a longtime bitter rival in the Ravens. So it'll be interesting to see how these teams compete because the Ravens are so banged up in their secondary. You think you could throw all over them, but then when you kind of look at the A dot and where Big Ben was throwing that ball on Monday night, his arm is shot. So they actually can easily defend how Big Ben is throwing the ball right now, in my opinion. And I do think their defensive front should be able to harass Big Ben and make life really hard on him. Obviously, they're going to try to get the ball into Najee Harris's hands as much as they can. But I do think they're going to struggle to move the ball at times. I think this is going to be a low-scoring, classic AFC North type of battle. And then what I think will end up coming down to is now, for whatever reason, the Browns just did not try to run the ball enough with Nick Chubb. What you can do against the Steelers defense this year is you can run the ball against this defense. So I think you're going to see a lot of Huntley on a lot of runs. You're going to see Latavius Murray. You're going to see Devontae Freeman. And they're going to try to do a lot of runs and then feed that off into play action and take little shots to Marquise Brown and Rashad Bateman and company. And now here's a cool thing is TJ Watt, he only needs one more sack to tie the record. So I think he just needs a 1.5 sacks and he'll beat the sack record. And he'll have that sack record in less than 16 games, by the way, because he did miss games. So it's going to be weird that he should probably be the defensive player of the year, and his team is likely not going to be in the playoff picture. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out if he's able to get the record on Sunday. Man, I think I have a feeling the Ravens are going to maybe have a good shot to win this game. But the more I think about it and sit here, I think Big Ben can try to get one last win over Baltimore and have his team have a shot to make the playoffs if the Colts game were to go their way. So why don't I just pick the Steelers? Screw it. Steelers win like a 17-14 win on Sunday. Now, there are two games on Sunday that don't involve any teams that are going to be in the playoffs or that have a hope to potentially make the playoffs. The first game is the football team is facing the Giants in New York. I'm going to take the football team just because the Giants are a dumpster fire. It sounds like they're about to fire their GM, possibly their head coach. So yeah, there's just too much turmoil going on. So I'll pick the football team to win that game. And then you got the Bears versus the Vikings. Justin Fields is out with COVID. So it's Andy Dalton. Kirk Cousins is back in. I'm going to take Kirk Cousins and the Vikings at home. This just seems like a blow-up spot for Minnesota. They're going to be the team that we thought they could be finally in the last game when nothing's on the line, because that's kind of what the Kirk Cousins-led team does. So yeah, I think the Vikings end up winning that game. Let's say they win like a 35-28 type of win against the Bears. So yeah, that's this week's video. It actually kind of went a lot longer than I thought it would. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button. If you have not subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button so you can keep up with all my latest content. So yeah, how I'm planning this out for my playoffs is I'm going to, a couple years ago, if anybody remembers, I used to do these playoff preview articles for Blitzalytics. I think I'm going to format my videos kind of similar to the format I wrote in those, and kind of look at these playoff matchups more in depth, and then give you guys obviously my predictions and how I think the matchups will go and whatnot. And I'm gonna do those on I'm gonna do individual game videos for each playoff game. There's gonna be for wild card weekend. There's games on Saturday, there's games on Sunday, and there's a game on Monday. I'm likely going to do maybe a couple videos next Thursday night for the Saturday games. Probably going to do some videos Friday night for the, drawing a blank here, for the Sunday games. And then what I'll probably do is for the Monday night wildcard game, I'll probably just wake up Saturday morning and record that. And maybe I might do that Friday. I'm not sure. I will keep everybody updated on that. And then of course I will be doing draft related content throughout the draft season. That will be more towards closer to the draft time, because basically my plans is I'm going to sit down this weekend. I'm going to get all my docs ready and start getting mentally prepared and organized for scouting season. And I'm going to do a bunch of scouting and do some videos as well. So stay tuned for that. And other than that, I hope you guys enjoy the final week of the NFL season. Can't believe it's already come to an end. I'll talk to you guys later next week when I do those playoff preview videos. See you guys later.